Hi, my name's Imani, and I'm here to talk about the Netflix movie Tall Girl. This will not be a spoiler free video. There will be lots of spoilers in this movie. I will talk about different things. If you have not watched the film, please watch it. I will try to give a brief recap, but I'm not going to go too in depth with it mostly because I don't really remember all that much about specific scenes and different things in the movie. So please watch it if you haven't and you would like to. I don't really think it needs to be watched, but for the purpose of watching this video, you might want to watch it just to understand what I'm talking about more. She's a girl named Jody. She's in high school. She is very tall, so she gets a little shit for it. I guess I wouldn't say bullied, but she does get picked on a bit for it. And she there's a new guy in school. He's a Swedish guy. I think his name is Spev or Spiv. I totally forgot his name. I'm just gonna call him Spev. And Spev comes, he tracks her eye, and she doesn't catch this Spev's eye, and she's like, "Why don't I catch his attention? I'm like super tall." And her best guy friend named Dunkelman, who is in love with her, but Jody won't pay attention to him because he's not taller than her. She has a whole thing about it. She decides he says something along the lines of, because all the people in Sweden are really tall. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's what the movie says. Anyway, instead, Spev ends up dating the mean girl named no. But anyway, she ends up dating the mean girl Amber. I'm gonna call her Amber, and but Spev also happens to be Dunkelman's foreign exchange student that he's hosting. So Spev and Dunkelman live together. This provides Jody opportunity to see Spev without it being weird, without it being like, okay. So anyways, Spev and Jody hang out one night at Dunkelman's house. They end up kissing, and then Spev decides that I really like Jody, and I'm gonna leave Amber for Jody. Jody invited him to Harper's pageant. Spev was supposed to break up with Amber and date Jody, and they were gonna go to homecoming together. None of those things are happening because Spev was a jerk. So Jody confronts Spev at Dunkelman/Spev's house party that they have before the homecoming, and Spev is like, "Oh, I was too busy to come." Blah blah blah. Anyways, it's very clear they're not gonna happen. The next day, I think, or whatever, next 2 days, whatever, Dunkelman comes over and he brings Jody a pair of heels and tells her, hey, I found a pair of heels in your size, and because she has really big feet because she's super tall. She wears like men's size 11s or 12s, whatever. She was like men's shoes. So he's like, hey, I found a pair of heels for you at this store that makes clothing for drag queens. So here's a pair of heels. I think you should wear them. Love you. I have to go. I'm grounded from the house party my parents gave me. Bye. I can't go to homecoming. So Jody decides to go to homecoming later on that night, and she wears a suit and she comes to homecoming, and she has the heels on. So she's like taller than usual. I think she's like what now 6'5", 6'6", whatever. The heels are like 4 or 5 inches, and she's 6'1" already. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but she's 6'1". So she walks down, she makes a speech, kind of like Mean Girls speech, about loving yourself and acceptance, and how she was a jerk to her best friend. I didn't mention her best friend. I will at the end in a minute. And blah, blah, blah. And then Amber ends up breaking up with Spev because at this point it's been obvious Spev's playing them both and Spev's a jerk. So then once Jody's leaving to go see Dunkelman, Spev stops her and he's like, wait, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do all this. I actually really like you, and I was just so caught up being the popular guy and blah, 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 because I wasn't popular back at home in my country and blah, blah, blah. Please forgive me. I love you. The shit like that. And Jody says, no, I'm good. I don't want to be with you. I got something else better going on behind for me. So she ends up going and seeing Dunkelman, and her and Dunkelman end up kissing, and they end up dating. And I think the movie ends there. I believe that's how the movie ends. I want to talk about Jody's other best friend that I never mentioned, that I just briefly mentioned. Jodie has a black female best friend. I don't think she has a name. I can't remember her name. She probably is named, but I just can't remember it because she's super irrelevant. She's literally only there just to be like, hey, look, we have a black person, diversity. She's the token black of the movie. It's quite annoying. She maybe has at most 5 minutes of dialogue, if that. She probably has less than 5 minutes of dialogue, and she's gone for like literally like almost the entire movie. Like, you can cut her out and the movie will be exactly the same. She's not relevant at all. So there's that. There's also another other black person named, I don't think he has a name. He's like Jodie's fake love interest. He's clearly a fake love interest, and Amber just puts him and Jodie together just cause. And they're like, that relationship is super irrelevant, and that also could be cut out the movie. I don't really, he's there, he's there just to add diversity. I just want to mention that. I'll go back into Jodie's black best friend. I have more to say about her, but I just wanted to mention that. So now that I've done a recap of the movie, I want to talk about the movie as a whole. I don't like this movie. And I don't like this movie for a couple different reasons. I'm going to talk about the main reason why I don't like the movie is that the movie's very unnecessary. There does not need to be a movie made about a girl who is tall and gets bullied. I say this because who they chose to play her is Ava Michelle. If you don't know, Ava Michelle was on Dance Moms, and she's also 6'1" in real life. So she's, she's tall. Okay, this movie would have been a lot better if they didn't cast Ava Michelle, if they actually casted someone else, because they really expect me to believe that Jodie, who is beautiful, conventionally pretty. She is conventionally pretty. She's tall. She's blonde. Blue eyes with a very, very pale white skin. I mean, come on. She's tell me to believe that this beautiful, rich, skinny, she's rich. Her house is huge. If you look into the movie, if you watch the movie, her house is huge. Her sister's a pageant queen. They do not need to, her family is not suffering for money at all. She appears to live in a very nice, very upper class neighborhood in New Orleans. And I say that because Dunkelman also is a very nice, a very large, big house. Everyone around them seems to have a lot of money. The fact that there's literally only 2 people of color and 2 black people in the entire school also leads me to believe that they live in a very white suburban neighborhood in New Orleans. So they are not poor. She's rich. She's pretty. She's thin. She's tall, aka she's a model. You know what I mean? And it's like, you really expect me to believe that this girl's bullied because she's tall? And like, the thing about it is that the meanest thing that happens to her is Amber, who's the mean girl. She's really not even that mean, calling Jodie and pretending to be that new Swedish guy on the phone, asking her out on a date and saying like, no one likes you because no one wants to date you because you're tall, which is like super weird. So that's why it bothers me, is that it expects me to believe that this character Jodie is a minority when she is in no way, shape, or form minority. If they wanted to get this message across of a tall girl learning to be herself, they should have actually casted a minority, like a genuine minority, preferably a tall black girl, because I'll give you an example. Megan Thee Stallion is extremely tall. She's beautiful. She's gorgeous. She's a little thick and everything. She got it going on. And she does get a lot of shit for her height. And she's seen as she is very sexual. But, that's fine. She's an adult. But she also gets a lot of shit because I remember, I think the VMAs, I think. Her and Taylor Swift wore literally the same exact, type of outfit, and Taylor was seen as classy while Megan was seen as very, very sexual, even though they literally wore the same exact outfit. It's essentially the same exact outfit. It was pretty crazy. So make her a tall black woman. They could have made her fat. You know what I mean? If they at least made her tall and fat, and then it was like, oh, it's not just about her being tall, it's also about the fat issues. She has to deal with fat phobia. That would also be another way to get the message across of embracing yourself, having an actual minority. You know what I mean? They could have made her Pacific Islander. You know what I mean? Something, any type of racial minority. They could have made her fat. They could have made her all tall, fat and a racial minority. You know what I'm saying? But instead, they just stuck with this thin, pretty, conventionally pretty white girl who's rich, who clearly is not a minority in any way, shape, or form, which also annoys me to no end, because then she has a line in the movie where she says something along the lines of, oh, no one has it worse than me. I'm a 6'1" high schooler. And I'm like, that's such a horrible, it just comes across as very tone deaf, and it actually makes Jodie seem, it makes me dislike Jodie even more when her inner monologue is her whining and complaining about her life, especially when Latino kids and immigrant kids have to deal with the reality of going to high school and not knowing that their parents might be deported, or Black teenagers having to deal with police brutality and state violence and everything. You know what I mean? There's like so much going on in the world with actual people, with actual teens, not that have it much worse than this girl than Jodie. So when she says stuff like that, I was just immediately like super annoyed, because this is a very privileged girl and she's whining about her height. It makes it very hard to be sympathetic for her, especially with things going on politically in the world and actual things happening to actual people. So Jodie just comes across as a super privileged, whiny white girl. That's exactly what she is. So I don't like Jodie as a character, because she's just so fucking annoying. And there's literally nothing about her that makes me want to, that there's no really any redeeming qualities about her. The way she treats her Black best friend, who I forgot her name, she's consistently throughout the movie, the times her best friend is there, she's encouraging Jodie to embrace herself, be confident, love yourself, blah, blah, blah. And Jodie's like, no, I can't, I'm tall. And she's whining about everything. And then I'm just looking, and it's just crazy, because I'm like looking at her Black best friend. I don't have to give her a name because I just feel so weird calling her that. I'm looking at her friend, I'm going to call her Kiki, like Kiki Palmer. Okay, so I'm looking at, her Black, who Jodie's best friend, who we're now calling Kiki, and I'm looking at Kiki and I'm like, how does Kiki feel having this privileged white girl who can literally be a model, who I'm surprised is not modeling, whine about how her life is horrible and da da da, when she's literally the only Black girl in the entire school in New Orleans? I'm like, huh? I'm like, so that always rubs me the wrong way. And then she treats her best friend horribly. She's so mean to her. And then she leaves, and at the end she gives an apology on stage where everyone's like, I forgive you. And I'm like, no, she should have apologized to you. She should have apologized a lot sooner than the movie, because at least a couple weeks passed between when Jodie was really, really rude to her and mean to her and that apology. You should have been apologized, Jodie. Instead, Jodie spends time with Amber and her friends trying to get to Spev, who doesn't even want her. You see what I'm saying? So that always bothers me about Jodie. Another thing that bothers me about this movie is that the movie takes itself very, very seriously. Again, with everything I just said about the whole premise of the movie, does anybody get to be taken seriously? I would have preferred this movie if it was a comedy, a parody, a spoof. Then yes, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But it takes off as a very serious teen drama. No, like if you would have just making fun of what it was, then I would have definitely enjoyed it, because this movie would have been a lot more enjoyable if it was like a spoof or a parody of a teen movie. You know what I'm saying? I would have liked it a lot more. But instead it takes itself too seriously. And there's nothing to be serious about this movie, because the character, Jodie, is so far from what reality and probably what happens in real life that it doesn't make any sense. Full disclosure, I am not a tall girl. So I'm not saying that girls who are tall don't get bullied and some shit for it. But what happens to Jodie is so far from being bullied, it's not even funny. Literally, again, like I said, the meanest thing happens to Jodie is Amber calls Jodie on the phone talking about, pretending to be Spev, wanting to date her, and says no one likes you because you're tall. Like, okay, your feelings are hurt, sure, but like, it's not, that's like the meanest thing that happens to her. Other than that, it's literally nothing like that happens to her besides that. I'm like, that's like not even whatever. And she gets couple how's the weather up there type comments, but like I don't really consider saying how's the weather up there bullying. Like, annoying, sure, but like, whatever. Totally nothing compared to like other shit I've gotten, like, whatever. Anyway, so there's that. I said, like I said, I talked about the black best friend briefly, about how she capes so hard for Jody, and then Jody just shits all over her, and then at the end she's forced to accept this petty ass apology that Jody makes, and it's just, I think her black best friend is super unnecessary. They might as well just take her out of the movie altogether. She's not needed at all. I prefer she was not in there at all, because she's a token black and no one likes to be tokenized. Like, let's just be honest, it's fucking offensive that she's even in this movie. I'd rather her be removed, not included at all, because she's so irrelevant. She's completely irrelevant to the movie. I can't stand that she's there. I don't like that what she is. Her character does seem cool, and her character seems very interesting. In fact, I think that there are actually more characters in the movie that I find more interesting than Jody, and her black best friend Kiki is the one I find very interesting. What's it like being in New Orleans, having a girl who's freakishly tall bitch about how her life sucks, when you're literally dealing with racism and microaggressions at school all the time? How's that like for you, being the only black kid in school? What's that like? I would like to see that movie. That thing sounds a lot more interesting than whatever the hell that Jody got going on with her. I also want to talk about for a minute Jody's parents. I would have liked to see a confrontation between Jody calling out her parents on her shit. She doesn't do that at all. It's so annoying. She does. No, I think she does. I think she does a very minor way, but I would like to see it bigger, and I would like to see an actual effect in it. I don't think she really calls them out on it. Her father is a huge jerk. He's like all pissy that his daughter's tall and taller than him, and it's like, okay, your daughter's 16 right now. You've had 16 fucking years. You're the reason why your daughter has confidence issues. Same thing with the mother. The mother rather spend more time on Harper and her beauty pageants, which is perfectly fine. You have 2 kids. Than to uplift Jody. So Jody, of course, is going to naturally feel inferior to her sister, because you spend all your time doting on Harper and her constant beauty pageants that she wins all the time, and then making Jody, who can easily be a model. Like, you have the time to make Harper into a pageant queen. Why not put her into some modeling? Why not do this? Why not do that? Why not also make her do pageants? Because, you see what I'm saying? Like, I just don't like her parents. I think her parents are absolutely not the best, and they're a reason why she's like the way she is. In fact, I think, they're whatever. Her parents suck. I'll talk about Harper. Harper is played by Sabrina Carpenter. She's actually one of the main reasons why I even watched Tall Girl was for Sabrina Carpenter. I really like her. And I think that her as Harper was great. I wish that Harper had more screen time. I found Harper to be a very interesting character. What was it like for Harper to grow up with a sister who always stood out, and you were kind of always in the background because she just naturally was bigger than everyone? And which probably led to and I think it's implied that this led Harper to do pageants and to be a pageant queen. If that's the case, I would like to see that. I would really like to see a movie about Harper from her perspective, how life is like being the older sister, but being shorter and constantly overlooked because your younger sister just taller than you, and how she turns to pageants and how she makes it well. Also, she's very talented. She played a whole like classical music thing with like water and glass, which I thought was really cool. And then at one point it shows her before the pageant that's shown in the movie, she's practicing throwing knives at a target, which I thought was super, super cool. And she's like obviously horrible at it. But by the time of the pageant, which by the way, only a few weeks have passed in this time, because, it has to be maybe a month at most, only a couple weeks have passed. She is so good at throwing the knives that she does it blindfold and hits a bullseye with it. And the pageant, of course, making her win the pageant. I'm like, that's so cool. She's actually very smart and very talented. I would have loved to see more of her. Instead, we get Jody as the main character, even though I think Harper's more interesting. And I'm not just saying that because I like Sabrina Carpenter. I just honestly think that she's a more interesting character. I thought that all the characters were boring and very one-dimensional, except for Harper. Sorry, I already said that. I want to talk about the mean girl, Amber, I think. She wasn't a mean girl, in my opinion. When I think of mean girls, I think of Regina George, Karen Smith, Gretchen Wieners. You see what I'm saying? She just acted like a high school girl who was insecure in a relationship with Spev because she knew that Spev was kind of looking at Jody a bit. And so she just kind of like made little digs at her and tried to be like, this is my boyfriend. And she just acted like an insecure girl, but I wouldn't necessarily say that she was the mean girl of the movie. And she made her seem like, oh, she's so mean and so popular and so this and so that. But I didn't really find her to be very much of a mean girl. She was a very weak mean girl. At terms of in relation to other teen movies. In relation to this movie, yes, she's definitely, I guess, as close to an antagonist as we're gonna get. I think the real antagonist would probably be Spev, just because he's such an asshole to Jody. But if we're gonna go for female antagonist, she would be the closest one we get. But again, I don't really see her as an antagonist. I just think that she's just a girl who's dating a guy, and she sees that Jody has taken an interest to him, and she's trying to mark her territory. That's literally all it is. I don't see her as anything to be intimidated by at all. She was definitely not a very good mean girl, but when you have someone like Jody who literally like whines at every little thing, it's really not that hard to intimidate a girl like Jody. So let's just put it that way. Jody's a very weak character. I don't like her. Yeah. Now I want to talk about the ending of the movie. The ending of the movie ends with Jody putting on the high heels that the guy got her. She wears a suit, and she talks to the school and homecoming dance on stage, kind of like a Mean Girls. I don't really like the speech. First, I'll talk about a couple of things. This is kind of like a minor detail, I guess. Yes, sure. I don't like Jody's outfit. We have seen suits on women. Zendaya does it all the time. Janelle Monáe, they look absolutely adoring and amazing and beautiful in their suits, and Jody just I didn't like the outfit that she wore. I also didn't like her hair. I was really mad at whoever did her hair for that movie, and especially in that scene. I was very angry with them because I'm like, her hair is like not cute. I didn't like her hair and her outfit at all. I found the speech to be very boring, and when Jody started speaking, I was actually expecting people in the crowd to go boo and like boo her off stage and like, throw tomatoes and shit at her, because like her speech just sucked. It was nothing like the iconic speech Katie Heron does at the end of Mean Girls, where she, breaks up the crown and she tosses it to the people. It's nothing like that. Instead, she just says, yes, I'm tall and I'm learning to embrace my height, and I'm not going to let anyone tell me otherwise. And I was so rude to my best friend, and I'm sorry. And the worst thing I ever did in my life was kiss a boy that was dating someone, which I don't really think needed to be said. You didn't really have to say that you kissed Spev. Like, why would you say that? Now you just made yourself look like a cheater. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't really do yourself any favors with that. Instead of like, I think they did that so Amber would know that Spev kissed Jody. But I think a better way of doing that would be have Spev, like, and Jody, like, confront each other privately, like they did after the speech. And then Amber overhears Spev saying, oh, I want to be with you, blah, blah, blah. And Jody saying, and talking about their kiss when they were dating, when Spev was dating Amber. And then Amber comes out and saying, you know what? You can have him. I don't want him. And then Jody says, you know what? I don't want you either. I think that would have been more interesting than like her, like, that feels like that works better than like her just admitting to the whole school that she literally kissed Amber's boyfriend. Like, that makes you look horrible. Like, that's like she's trying to like build up her reputation and say, I don't care what anyone thinks, like, blah, blah, blah. And like, I'm super confident now. And like, trying to win the school over, I guess. And then she defeats the point by saying that she kissed someone's boyfriend. Like, why would you do that? Up until the point of the movie, like I said, again, the meanest thing Amber did was to prank call Jody as like somebody that's Spev, saying he wants to date her. That's like the meanest thing she did throughout the entire movie to Jody. But so like, it just seems like really, really mean, because like, honestly, in my opinion, I think what Jody did was worse than what Amber did, in my honest opinion. So that's, again, that's the reason I don't like Jody, is because she gets away with like kissing someone's boyfriend. Like, I think that's really messed up. And then at the end, her and Dunkelman get together. I don't like her and Dunkelman dating, because I think it underhands the point of the movie. The whole point of the movie is to not be someone's second sloppy seconds and to always be confident in who you are and be with someone who wants you for you. I'm sorry, I don't like that Jodie and Dunkelman get together at the end, because Jodie literally says at the beginning of the movie, I only want date a guy who's taller than me, and I'm not interested in you because you're not taller than me. She like pretty much says that to his face. And then Dunkelman, throughout the movie, Dunkelman has romance with, she plays the girl with cancer on the show Alexa and Katie. I believe Alexa's one with cancer. It's the girl who plays her. And she likes Dunkelman, and then she's like, okay, I realize, and then, you know, her and Dunkelman have a heart to heart where she's like, oh, I realized that you like Dunkelman, that you like Jodie, so I'm gonna let you go because I'm not gonna ever be the one for you. I don't like that. I would prefer if throughout the movie that Dunkelman, and I'm gonna call her Alexa, I don't know her name, and Alexa, developed an actual romance together, and they actually liked, and you know, Dunkelman was like, hey, listen, you know what, Joe doesn't like me, but there's this really great girl and I'm starting to like her, and they actually had a genuine relationship together, and they started to like you, and they became a couple. And then when Jodie at the end's like, hey, listen, like, I want to date you, Dunkelman's, I'm sorry, but I'm with Alexa right now, we're together, and you had your chance, but I'm with someone who likes me. You know, she looked at me and she saw me from the start, and we have a thing to each other. I would have liked him with her versus like he just settles to get with Jodie. I don't like that. I think that was a really poor ending, and it really undermines the whole point of their story about loving yourself, not accepting being second best, and being with someone who genuinely likes you. And it cuts a story when that's exactly what Dunkelman does, is he goes with, I don't like that. So yeah, there's a lot of flaws with this movie. Would I recommend this movie? No. I don't recommend this movie for all the reasons I've already said, but also because as far as like it being compared to other high school teen movies, it's not that good, even without all the things I've said. Even if Jodie, you know what I mean? Without all the stuff I said, I just don't like it. It's really lackluster, even without the premise of being a tall girl, and you just had Jodie just be like an average girl, and she wasn't tall, and took away that premise of her height, and she was like 5'5", 5'6", whatever, and she was like shorter. It still doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't win anything in my soul. I don't like it. The only thing that made it somewhat interesting was that Jodie was tall, but Jodie being tall just made Jodie annoying. You see what I'm saying? So again, I don't really like the movie because of that. It's not a good movie. There's better teen movies out there, way, way better ones. So this movie just falls very, very flat for me. The only thing they had going for it was it tall, and Jodie being tall just made her a very irritating, annoying character. It did nothing for her. It just made me hate her a lot, actually. Did not do anything for me. I did not feel sympathetic or like her at all, because I'm an actual minority, and seeing this girl pretend that she's a minority just pisses me off, because like I'm an actual minority, you know? So I don't know, this was a really bad movie. I don't recommend it. So that's my last thoughts on the movie. It's gonna be a pretty long video, so sorry about that. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.